Hello friends, welcome to week 6's Q&As, joined by my lovely wife Lucie.
Hi guys.
So Lucie will ask me a final question. We've only done a few questions this week just because we've been so busy with work and I have to get back to work and you do as well. So go ahead, Lucie.
So the next question is by Bananu. What's the deal with Inuit health and why are they used as reference so often?
Oh yeah. So first of all guys, please like, subscribe, enable notifications if you enjoy the videos, and please visit my website thelonglived.com if you want to learn more. I also have a blog I just started. So the reason why we included this question is because I got this question and I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thought to write because I was supposed to start a blog, so I thought I'll write a blog post, a short one about this question, addressing it. So I did do that. And the only reason I'm covering it in the video is just so you guys know more about the blog, and if anyone wants to follow it, they're going to be really short articles, but hopefully interesting ones regarding longevity, cognitive enhancement, health, nutrition, things like that. But this one, just the background for this, Lucie, just so you know. So we've talked about it before, like there are these, basically there was a big movement in the United States that began in the 60s, or really began in the 50s, but climaxed in the late 1970s and early 80s that was anti-fat. So there used to be low-fat everything, right? And you eat low-fat, you end up good heart and you end up low body fat. In response to this, because of the lack of foundations of much of this this movement, I mean that one, a group of fringe element people started to protest against this anti-fat thing, and eventually they took on the role of being anti-sugar. So now there's like an anti-fat, well, not as much anymore, but there's a really strong anti-sugar group in nutrition. And these people, they're called the low-carb people or the ketogenic people. These are the people who convinced you to use coconut in your coffee and to use butter everywhere and all that stuff. I was gonna say tricked, but they're not tricking anyone. They mean well, and I'm not saying they're wrong. It's very hard to be sure of anything when you're using epidemiological data. And I talked about this in another video, I won't get into it, but it's really hard. So the point is, these people have been often using the Inuit as an example. And I've gotten maybe 3 questions so far since I started with about the Inuit. People say, oh, but the Inuit had great health. And the Inuit only ate fat and meat. Which the Inuit, just so you know, they ate mainly like seal meat, and then which is a very fatty also, and then seals have atherosclerosis also. So anyway, they ate a lot of whale blubber, just saturated fat, and they ate fish. So their diet was high in omega-3s, but it was extremely high in fat, and also high in well, not high, but it had protein, and very low in fiber, low in phytochemicals, low and all that. And yet people say in the community, the common perceived wisdom is that they had great health. So turns out saturated fat doesn't cause heart disease. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say, like, there's no indication that they had great health. No, this is somehow made up. I don't know why people have that impression. There's no reason to think so. The reason that people think that the Inuits did not suffer from coronary heart disease, which was the original claim, that's all it was, because they have high saturated fat, but they don't have heart disease. So who said they don't have heart disease? There's one paper, I think it's by a guy called Meyerberg, I'm not completely sure, from 1975. I can't remember the name. These Scandinavian names are hard for me to remember. And it was one paper in 1975 where the guy offhandedly said that the Inuits are not known to suffer from coronary heart disease. Now the thing is, this document was written in reference to 1960s and before data. Well, in the 1960s and before that, the Inuits were still eating traditional diets and they were not being examined by medical people frequently. So on what basis do we say that they were not suffering from coronary heart disease? There's no basis. There's no evidence. In fact, there is some evidence, quite a bit of evidence it turns out, that they not only suffered from coronary heart disease, but at a lower rate than the normal population apparently. But they suffered from stroke and aneurysms, especially intracranial aneurysms in the head, more than Western populations. Okay, not only that, but there was an autopsy of about 500 Inuits, I think in the 1960s, that show that they frequently had atherosclerosis, which is the plaque buildup in the cardiovascular system. So for some reason, they did not suffer as many heart attacks. They had more strokes, they had more aneurysms, and they did have plaque buildup in the arteries. So did they have better cardiovascular health? There's a paper by, again, I can't say the names just because it's Scandinavian, but I've cited it on my blog. There's a wonderful paper published in like early 2000s by one of the leading researchers in Scandinavia, because the Inuit, they live in Greenland as well. They live in Alaska, in Canada, and in Greenland. And he did a study, and he shows that basically there's no foundation for this claim. I mean, they do have less coronary heart attacks, coronary heart disease, or myocardial infarctions, but they have strokes and aneurysms. And more importantly than that, since when did we think that Inuits live long? Because the original argument was about saturated fat and heart disease. But people now, they're saying, no, these guys had great health. No, they didn't have great health. There's no one saying that at all. Nobody says they have less cancer or they died at an older age. There is no, as I said in my article, there's no blue zone in Alaska or in Greenland. There's blue zones,